Hey there, welcome to episode 100 of the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program. Episode 100, quite a milestone of sorts, coming to the end of season 1 soon. I am your host, managing director of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, Dan Hugo. The Innovate for Vegas Foundation is, of course, a Nevada nonprofit corporation, a 501c3 public charity. Our purpose is to enable and encourage ideation, innovation, and implementation to make our communities better. Piece of cake. So we are recording this, by the way, in case you're curious, at just before noon on January 14th, 2025. It is a nice Tuesday here in Vegas, a little windy. I won't even say it. We do not have smoke in the air that I've seen so far or that I've inhaled. Of course, we're all thinking about the people in Los Angeles who are, I was almost going to say Las Vegas, the people in Los Angeles who are going through quite the unfortunate situation. I will simply say that I myself have been in a house fire. Luckily, not long enough, I got out of the house fire. It's a frightening situation. It is difficult. It is a challenge. And that was just, it was actually 2 houses in Sunnyvale, California, in the Bay Area. This is in no way commensurate. The situations are vastly different. But I will say the unexpected displacement and loss of all of, or most, or however things turn out on an individual basis, the loss and the danger and the displacement and the chaos, and of course for those who lost friends or loved ones, however, whatever the case may be. Very sad. The pets that are running around that were left behind, the looting. There's all sorts of drama. So this is the beginning of a long process. So enough about that for the moment. We have plenty of time to think about this coming weeks and months. In the meantime, our 100th episode today, we are going to speak about innovating for versus in Las Vegas. So Innovate for versus in Las Vegas. It's a play on our name. In fact, let me take out the loss. Okay, calling an audible here. The title of today's episode, Innovate for versus in Vegas. So our organization is called Innovate for Vegas. It is based on the original name of our original organization, Code for Vegas. We rebooted in 2022, June 2022. We formed Code for Vegas Foundation and received our 501c3 determination for the Code for Vegas Foundation. Then we renamed ourselves in light of a variety of things, not the least of which was the confusion that is caused by people who would actually say, I'm not a coder. Would I be welcome to participate in this? So innovation takes many forms and should be open to anyone who would like to. But should one be in Vegas to innovate for Vegas? And that is a question we address from time to time, and so we'll just spell that out today. Hopefully, wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description. It contains show notes, which include a summary, which I'll read to you, and the links for today's episode, and they are actually the same as the links for previous episodes. I will remind listeners that last week, January 7 through 10, was the Consumer Electronics Show for 2025 here in the Greater Vegas area, actually in the Las Vegas Convention Center, the Venetian Expo, where Eureka Park is, the best part of the show, and other parts of the Greater Vegas area. The show is sprawling. Not sure what attendance was this year, but it seemed okay. It seemed maybe slightly less crowded than some of the peak numbers. I think 180,000 attendees is the number that they usually aim for or tout. I don't know if it was that many. It felt like maybe some extra space between people at the convention center. All that said, so it's not a lot of deep diving on data and whatnot. The document revisions continue. You can reach those through our main website. If you visit our GitHub site, there will be continued development on web content and so on for our infrastructure, which includes some of the things I will mention links to. So let's get started then. The summary of today's episode is the Greater Vegas area is a strange mix of cultures and possibilities, some of which may be wagered on. our foundation began reaching out beyond our locality to engage those in other places interested in community elevation and civic volunteerism over 1 year ago. And it was at CES 2025 where there was 2025 where there was some leaning in. That is to say, I was speaking to various people from somewhat near and far about our approach to civic volunteerism and engaging others outside of our locality. Historically, the brigade program by Code for America or similar sort of cohorts where it was, hey, let's get together and try to fix some problems, address some problems, talk about some problems, issues, and whatnot. And there are certainly value being on the ground. I have nothing against that whatsoever. But if the civic volunteer population in your locality is small, perhaps something you would like to work on or address is also being worked on or addressed by other civic volunteer organizations elsewhere. Why duplicate effort? The nature of open source, which everything we do is, lends itself nicely to collaboration, sharing, not duplicating effort, making the most of efforts of others that are similar or can be shared and so on. So that's sort of the ethos of civic volunteerism anyway. Hopefully it's about outcomes and it's not a competition. So, for example, there is a Hack for Los Angeles, which is a civic volunteer organization. I don't know if they were former brigade, but they were sort of. I don't know what the arrangements are there. It's a fairly large organization with pretty solid participation. Obviously, they're on the ground, literally and figuratively. So if there were some projects or initiatives that they are undertaking to aid with the, I doubt it would be real time during, maybe, but over the next coming weeks and months and maybe even longer, perhaps there will be some efforts that they can drive or take part in that will, give back and elevate the communities so impacted by the fires going on. And so the civic volunteerism efforts could be a part of that overall recovery effort and general elevation of these communities. So anything is possible. And of course, anyone, anywhere, if you look at the CERT program, which is part of FEMA, so the Community Emergency Response Team, I believe it is. I'm a CERT volunteer, by the way. CERT could always use some tools to help coordinate. It is a volunteer organization, but it is part of FEMA. So a platform that enables easier sharing of information with those affected in impact areas, areas that have been, hit with fire, hurricane, other disaster or similar. Just ways to share information in an authoritative way or access resources or get to different locations for different resources, etc. So the list of possibilities is endless, and those are the sorts of things where Hack for LA could work on what's needed in LA, but just as easily anyone in a hurricane zone, tornado zones, fire, monsters, whatever is happening. The needs are similar. The differences are what a hurricane versus a fire. There's a lot in common. There's a lot not in common. So if we have a common base that we can share across different volunteer organizations, then we can all win, and we can focus on the specifics of our locality or our region or circumstance, and we can share those with others as well. Sounds hard. Sounds difficult. Maybe, probably it isn't. Probably it is not. The links for today's episode, again, like last week, very similar. The same four, in fact. Our homepage, Innovate for Vegas. That's Innovate, F-O-R, Vegas, no punctuation. Innovate for Vegas. And then .org. That is our homepage. It's still a one-pager, although I'm working on just kind of breaking that up. It's not super high priority, but we do need to make the various sections on our main homepage or homepage content a little bit more directly connected to the various initiatives that are attached to it and everything that's going on in our various efforts, along with our various efforts. So innovateforvegas.org, though, is our homepage. It is backed by the GitHub Innovate for Vegas organization and its content and so on. So links on the homepage. Projectact.info, that's project-act.info. That is our autonomous cohort tessellation initiative, broken out as its own initiative that others are welcome to participate in. The tessellation is a mosaic. It is if you can imagine a tile wall where each tile is an independent organization or cohort working on civic volunteer projects and initiatives, elevating their communities, possibly collaborating. There's a little bit more to it than that, but that's a good starting point. The projectact.info homepage is still languishing as a single kind of like a paragraph maybe. That one definitely needs some work as well, but the entire publishing infrastructure for all of these websites, for the three that I'm going to mention, needs some integration effort, and that is on the list. But projectact.info, keep an eye on that. Agile for Volunteers, that's Agile, AGILE, for FOR, volunteers.org, is our other initiative for an agile, the original agile, not the agile industrial complex version that vexes people today. The original agile, the Agile Manifesto, the thinking and the motivation that went into that, expanded for more than just software developers and directed at volunteers working on volunteer projects. The presumption that people will not be full-time. They're not being paid for their work, so you're not expected to work 40 hours a week. There's no story points, no stand-up meetings, but it is a workflow designed to enable an external collaborator who is interested in collaborating, like, this looks like a project I might be interested in, or this initiative looks like it might fit into what we're trying to accomplish in our locality. Hopefully it will be an easy or easier way to see where the project or initiative, the component projects of an initiative are, how someone might contribute, what are the open issues, which tasks are in flight during an iteration versus which ones are, waiting, which user stories might apply to what they're doing. Hey, you could add another user story. So how to contribute, where to contribute, etc. So that's the motivation behind that effort. Civic volunteers are a valuable resource. They should be, I don't want to say used. No, their contributions to open source and civic volunteer efforts should be appreciated. And part of that appreciation is to make it easy or easier to contribute their time, effort, and expertise, not by trying to figure out how to do that, right? So shortening the path between, hey, I'm interested, and hey, I'm contributing, if they want to. And finally, Mastodon for Vegas. I mention this every week to remind myself that I need to finish that deployment. It's been low priority. I don't want to just go, hey, look, it's broken. So it's one of those things, because once you put something out there, you have to maintain it and support it. And that's, if I don't even have time to get beyond talking about it, then I probably don't have time to properly support the initial rollout. So there's no rush. And that's one of the things about a volunteer organization that's kind of tricky. There is, for the most part, no timeline. Now, I gave the Hack for LA example. There may be a little bit of a timeline if they do engage in any elevation or community assistance directed initiatives or programs or projects. And, by the way, not everything has to be a code project. I mean, Hack for LA could coordinate, physical engagement, like on the ground, engaging with people, helping with volunteer in-person events and so on. So there's a whole variety of things that a volunteer organization can take part in when it comes to community elevation, tools development, app development, technology related, especially software. One small piece. And that was kind of the motivation behind our name change. Innovation can take many forms. So can volunteerism. So let's get to it. Our 100th episode is leaning into the notion that we, for need not mean in. That is to say, Innovate for Vegas does not mean you need to be in. You don't need to innovate in Las Vegas now, or Vegas. By the way, the city of Las Vegas, the greater Vegas area, and the concept of Vegas, Las Vegas. Hey, I'm in Las Vegas. Are you sure? There's more than one application or tool available, GPS based, that will tell you if you are in Las Vegas. The city of Las Vegas has administrative boundaries. The Las Vegas, welcome to Las Vegas sign is not in Las Vegas. Yet, if you visit Las Vegas, you are probably not in Las Vegas, though you may as well believe you are. Clark County, in which Las Vegas is considering renaming itself to either Vegas County or Las Vegas County, for example. Just, it would make everything easier. Or would it? Who knows? There's a city of North Las Vegas that is different than the city of Las Vegas. There are unincorporated areas like Paradise and Enterprise. So Clark County has a lot going on. So do you need to be in Las Vegas to innovate for Las Vegas? For Vegas? Maybe not. So we're just around 2.5 years old now. It has become clear that our local culture of innovation needs some cultivation, a lot, which we hope will be aided by deploying some actual community elevation initiatives, possibly sparking interest from a new crowd. The, hey, I didn't know we could do that sort of response, right? The fear of missing out, if you like. So our reach into the greater Vegas community may not be what we had hoped. But if we're going to look at extending our reach anyway, why not leverage the entire open source notion and reach out to like-minded civic volunteers well beyond our locale, to any place with any one person or cohort, formal nonprofit, informal club, anything, interested in pursuing initiatives similar to ours, or not even similar, maybe just a similar motivation, similar mindset. There may be some synergy, is a popular word. I don't know if it's fallen out of favor yet. There may be, though, some room to work together on some things, or we could work similar to ours, or might benefit with us in some collaboration across the distance. So we could all benefit from just collaborating, whether we have similar specific initiatives, or if we could benefit from. I mean, there's nothing preventing someone from saying, you know what, I'm going to put my my normal focus aside take a break and, take a look at somebody else's projects, initiatives. How are they doing? What are they doing? That's always how, or it is always possible to learn, and that's how you learn, is by looking in different places for different things and seeing what comes up. The upside for most of those not in Vegas, they can still innovate for Vegas, and we can implement and deploy to not only our fellow locals here in Vegas, but to our 40 million or so annual visitors, open source, and our explicit attribution policy. Two great tastes that go great in Vegas or for Vegas, which means if you are not in the greater Vegas area, maybe you're in another city, in another place, another state, right? Collaboration on our projects, you're still given full credit for your contributions, just like any open source project should do. Any contribution, testing, coding, documentation, etc. This is a topic for other shows. We talked about this quite a bit. Anyone who contributes should receive full attribution for their efforts, and so it is. And this means also that anything you do here can certainly be integrated into what you do there, wherever you are. You may be working on something similar, like I said, or something completely different, but it's always possible that there's room for sharing of explicit project work, or at least learning from each other. So credit given where credit is due, and try out your stuff with 40 million visitors. People in our town, people in your town, etc. So let's make discovery and collaboration easier. The goals of Agile for Volunteers and Project Act, insofar as we are driving them as our own initiatives at the moment, they are both intended to be sort of open for collaboration across anyone, individuals, cohorts, etc., are to make volunteer initiatives and component projects a little bit easier to keep track of, with attribution to the volunteers contributing to them, and advertising these initiatives and component projects to others so they can be discovered, and vice versa. These could be made easier and opt-in without a central authority. So that means you're not required to advertise all of the things you're working on, but you may say, hey, our open transit project, let's make sure that other volunteer organizations are aware of this, any community elevation cohorts out there. And you might discover, or you might be discovered by others doing something similar. Hey, we should collaborate. We should maybe we could even interoperate. Maybe our stuff could all work together. Why reinvent protocols or methods or user interface notions? Settle on something that works, so that the people that are trying to get to work or to school are not trying to figure out what your user interface is. That's for another time. So if we can make all that easier without a central authority, you don't have to join anything. You just simply say, hey, we're working on this. And Google, similar tools are not really ideal for finding these sorts of things. So we'll try to make things more discoverable without resorting to the normal everyday search engine. Heavy use of RDF network graphs. So our autonomous cohort tessellation initiative essentially attempts to tackle that. And then once someone discovers your efforts, hopefully you don't have to use Agile for Volunteers, but hopefully that model will be interesting enough so that people will adopt something similar, perhaps, where someone coming upon your efforts, your cohort, your initiatives, your component projects, your repositories, can say, oh, here's what they're trying to accomplish in the user story format. Here's a draft purpose document. Here's those are always kind of rolling updated to align with what the actual purpose is. And then here's some tasks, and here's how I could contribute some time periodically. Oh, they're doing iteration flow and continuous flow. I can do a pull request. Oh, it's not all software. There are some things that are not strictly coding. Interesting. And so on and so on. If these go to plan, that is Project Act and Agile for Volunteer, we should be able to expose all of our initiatives via what we have all heard of by now: user stories and a few other planning elements, along with tasks and defects, all visible to anyone who might want to join in. Basically, if you have some time on a Friday, for example, Friday afternoon, to contribute to a civic volunteer component project somewhere on the internets, which one? How to locate, where to jump in. Okay, first of all, you assume that you have located, like, hey, I'm looking for something. Let me see what's going on in the world. And so you discover something that looks interesting. However you discovered it, maybe you Googled, or maybe you looked on the Hacktoberfest Discord, or who knows how you got there. So when you get to wherever you are going, it could be a website, it could be a GitHub repository, it could be a GitLab repository, it could be anything. How do you locate where to jump in without spending all of your volunteer time trying to figure out what is going on with a particular possibility? So you've gotten there and you say, okay, I got 4 hours to spend. Spending 4 hours reading through things can be a challenge. You just want to look at an open issue, perhaps, or look at a task that's waiting and say, oh, I could do that. I could do that in an hour. Great. Of course, I know those are all hypothetical. Of course, we are trying to kick this off here in Vegas, but ideally these ideas, either or both, so Project Act and or Agile for Volunteers, will catch on out in the world to enable cross-locality collaboration a bit more easily. With civic volunteerism a difficult pitch in general lately, based on comments from beyond our borders, so this is not strictly Vegas. Getting volunteer participation is not as easy as it once was, perhaps. Even those interested in civic volunteer participation are not always motivated, or may not always have time, or maybe generally not able to participate on a regular basis. Agile for Volunteers is designed for this eventuality specifically, by making factored work and making that work easily visible. So it's, what are we trying to accomplish? Which user story is which task addressing, and so on. Is the task finished? Did it, is it started? Here's an iteration window to participate in, and so on. So to make things sort of modular, with the presumption that not everyone will be around for 40 hours a week, or even maybe at all. We will, of course, need to test this at scale. So hopefully Agile for Volunteers will be interesting enough that other people want to try it out. Innovation in Vegas is not easy, and this is unfortunate. This is not a statement about individual innovation or a startup effort or an academic pursuit. These are a bit more common. There is innovation in Vegas. There is innovation everywhere. If you really look, you'll find people doing innovative and creative things. Not everything is developing an app on a phone. Innovation can take many forms. But if you have money or need to fill a slot at an event highlighting innovation, there is some interest in what is going on from the powers that be when it comes to local innovation. Not always otherwise. Our organization, however, does not get a lot of support from those who believe the Greater Vegas area is the next innovation hub. You would think it's right there in our name, but not a lot of curiosity. Are we going to be the next Silicon Valley? Well, who knows? Culture of innovation, and so on. So we're in an interesting region. The culture is focused heavily on the fun economy, which is fine. That's how 40 million people come here every year. To be perfectly honest, and this is just an opinion based on my own personal experience, traveling near and far to enable and encourage innovation during hackathon events as part of a reality show that was focused on making and a lot of interaction with innovators of all kinds, the environment and culture of the Greater Vegas area at present it presents a real challenge. This is what fuels the adventure, though. Why would I write something like that? If you like rock climbing, steep walls. This is what fuels the adventure, though, because as JFK once said in this excerpt, I've taken out the and the other things. We do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. We choose to go to the moon and these other things not because they're easy. So I've a little paraphrase. We are not going to the moon or those other things yet, but you get the idea. And speaking of idea, the idea is to show rather than tell, or as I like to say, go around obstructions and ask from up ahead if they are interested in joining in. While this is a challenge with a skeleton crew, and that's our current organizational state, we are most definitely reforming. Need some muscle. If we can engage our peers at a distance and tell a good and true story about the potential of 40 million visitors as a potential pool of co-creators. So no, not all 40 million, but that is a large pool to wade into. It's very deep, wide. So that's a broad and diverse array of cultures, languages, points of origin, expectations, etc. Familiarity with norms. The use of public transit is the one that I always go to, right? So some people use public transit more, others less in different areas. They may be more or less inclined to. What if it was easier here in Vegas than it is at present? There's plenty of room for improvement. And even better, show some working examples where reaching our visitors to try out some of our initiatives actually provides value. The rest is a piece of cake. No, not really. So basically, again, true stories. Hey, we're working on these initiatives. Hey, we get to reach out to these, some fraction of 40 million people. And hey, we get some feedback and it makes what we're doing better. And we get some attention and people bring this notion that, Vegas has some actual smart things going on developed right there in Vegas, or developed by an organization right there in Vegas. And here's a list of people that look, somebody from our city was part of this. Interesting. Or somebody nearby or so on. So potential. So innovate for Vegas then, not in. There's not a universal need to be co-located in the Greater Vegas area to innovate in areas that are interesting to the people who reside in the area or the many people who visit the area each year, or both. Our approach is to invite collaboration locally or from other places, both, ideally in such a way as to bring innovative upside to all localities, whether they're involved or not, actually. Everything we're doing is open source, so there's no reason someone else couldn't apply what we're doing wherever they are, whether they participated or not. All of our efforts are open source, like I just said, and are not, so far, Vegas specific. So, point of fact, Our My Muni project used to be called the My Vegas project. Now it's the My Muni initiative, specifically because there was nothing that we were going to attempt to do with the My Vegas project that was Vegas specific, other than it being sort of a modern information sharing platform that was focused on, like I said, being the user interface for a smart city. So My Muni, my municipality, my community, is now an initiative focused at a general purpose or general use case platform for information sharing based on some of the resources that will be available in a smart city, or maybe they won't be yet. So if we can think outside of our own locality, our own region, and think about general use cases, then hopefully whatever we build will two things. One, will be useful for others. Two, will be resilient to change locally as things change in our smart city, as it gets smarter, as new features are deployed, new networks, new sources of information, new repositories of information, if they're visible and publicly available and accessible and so on. We can include those things so we don't have to design up front for a special, if we only design for today and assume that the project or initiative comes to an end, and then the next day some new technology is introduced or new connectivity or some new features are desirable, then we've kind of left ourselves out of that possibility by having the initiative come to an end. That's really just not how, it's really not how software works. It's not how technology works. So if we adopt the notion that we should work, what we're working on should work for others or work with others, and others should be able to work with us and work on our initiatives and component projects and so on. So if we kind of open things up, it makes more sense. You can innovate for Vegas, the things that you work on in that context. It could be integration of things that you are working on wherever you are. It could be that you're local in the greater Vegas area. You could be in Reno. You could be in California. You could be in Florida. You could be anywhere. And something you're working on might integrate nicely here and vice versa. So we can collaborate, and then we can try it out on our 40 million visitors if it's something that lends itself to engaging with a visitor population. Piece of cake. So if we can attract collaboration from outside our locality, we can learn through any co-creation efforts with our visitor flux. It may make better outcomes for deployments, not only in Greater Vegas, but also in other places. So the upside, basically, not only more people working on initiatives, component projects, anything that benefits from having more, not just as we know, projects don't always automatically benefit from more people, but the possibility of increasing collaboration from different angles, different viewpoints, different facets, bringing different levels of experience and time to something. And it doesn't have to be software. So maybe language translation, maybe marketing, maybe visualizations, maybe content in general, or maybe there's some sort of physicality. We live in the age of 3D printing and so on. So there could be a 3D printed design for something that would work here, but would also work somewhere else, or vice versa. So there's, and I've only scratched the surface. So this is by no means a comprehensive list. So the idea is that because of the number of people who come here, we are essentially an interesting place to try out ideas on people. Don't take that the wrong way. I mean that they can interact with, they might benefit from, they may find issues with, and we provide an avenue to accept that feedback. Everybody wins. So co-location within the Greater Vegas area is not essential and may in fact be easier if collaboration can take place from where our collaborators are located. Anyway. Right? Yes, it is valuable to co-create with people in person, absolutely. But we can do that here in Vegas, while our collaborators can do the same in their localities. So not everything is Vegas-centric, believe it or not. Don't ask around here, though. You'll get a different answer. Co-creation may also take place virtually or through asynchronous means. Online surveys, issue reports, discussion forums. If we enable people to interact on their time, we can't expect everyone to be like, hey, rally in this meeting room so we can get your feedback. That's unlikely to happen if people are here for their own fun economy, purposes. I'm here to see a show. I'm here to see a race. I'm here to see a game. I'm here to play a game. I'm here to, etc. There's any possibility. So being non-invasive in that co-creation effort is also absolutely a consideration on the table. So the opportunity and the population are available, I think. And so what can we do with that when we are building and deploying our community elevating initiatives? Make sense? So where are we moving forward? The Innovate for Vegas Foundation, the we. So we are still the Innovate for Vegas Foundation. At some time in the future, perhaps the culture of innovation in the greater Vegas area, coupled with a desire on the part of our local innovators, a desire to participate in community elevation initiatives will make for greater participation locally and more interest from the people of greater Vegas in general if they can see, I usually call it the aha or the lean in with respect to what volunteers are doing. That, the lean in moment is normally when you're pitching a startup or a new idea. But here we can show and not tell the community at large or communities at large, hey, people that live here, people that you might know, did this. The thing that you're using is locally developed, local innovation. Oh, and by the way, we collaborated with some people from these other cities, and here they are. If they so desire to, if they don't opt out. Full disclosure of who has made this technology possible. So people in these other cities are also benefiting from this and so on. So seems pretty straightforward. No real, I can't imagine an argument against something like that. So hopefully we'll end up with greater participation here locally. And again, the more interest from the people of Greater Vegas, and really the people, the normal, regular everyday folk, they are not the issue. The issue is the people in NGOs, the people in our local governments, staffers and whatnot. My opinion, they don't really seem to get how to enable a nonprofit pursuit that is aiming at community elevation at large. So I think they're much more prepared here in the Greater Vegas area to invite people who are already up and running or already have money or some outreach to students. It's not really symmetric or sensible, in my opinion, but we'll see. So like I said, go around, we'll advance our causes, and we'll look back over our shoulder at some point and say, hey, did you want to be a part of this? We asked you way back there. You didn't even answer the phone. That's the Vegas ghost protocol. So all of our initiatives that are aimed at community elevation, which is most of them, but not all of them, our infrastructure, for example, is kind of our meta project or initiative about websites and tools and so on. And then, of course, Project ACT and Agile for Volunteers are utility. They're not really community. They're kind of tangentially, they're enabling initiatives. So all the community, though, elevation initiatives will always be compatible with Greater Vegas and likely other localities. So, we're Innovate for Vegas. We're building to elevate our local communities, but we're not limiting ourselves to that, if that makes sense. And likely other localities, like I said. So there's always going to be innovation for and in Vegas by our organization, but also for other places through our collaboration outreach, especially by way of any sort of collaborative and interactions, engagements, and just generally sharing and basically increasing the amount of progress we can all make. If we don't have enough people, or if people that we do have working with us don't have enough time, it's really easy to get bogged down in it can be actually demoralizing if whatever you're working on doesn't feel like it's moving forward. So some fresh eyes or somebody with a different perspective from another place, a group of people doing something similar, another kind of aha moment. Hey, we're doing something very similar. Maybe we can work together. So you start to collaborate on the common parts. You can differentiate on the different parts. One of the examples I give is like if you live in a snow climate, you might have something that is more leaning towards snow. And we don't have snow in the Greater Vegas area often. We do have it sometimes, and we do have a mountain with snow on it. But generally speaking, it's different types of climate, different types of road, different types of visitor populations. So there are differences between localities, but a lot of things are also similar. So if we can actually enable that, things that we build for and in Vegas should also work for other places. And of course, through collaboration, we can actually see if that happens. So for 2025, we hope to grow our board of directors, deploy working initiatives, and continue their development, because no good initiative should come to an end, practically speaking. Some will by their nature, but if it's a good, useful tool like our open transit initiative, we can always improve such things. So our initiatives are not intended to have an end of life or a hard stop. They'll always be up for it. And this is a great way for people to join in, is to take an existing deployed thing and say, we can make that part better, or hey, we can adapt this to work better in a different place, etc. So we can continue development on continuous improvement. Does that make sense? So the development, we don't shut down a project or end it or call it done. So continuous improvement, we can commence efforts on new initiatives as well. So what we have, we can continue to make better. We can add new initiatives. Surely we will add new initiatives over time, and continue our outreach locally and at a distance to enable and encourage civic volunteerism in general. And again, not everything is code, so this will often feel or sound like coders. Coders can reach across distances through the internets, and but almost anybody can do this at this point. This is the 21st century. There is no time like the present to be a part of your own communities, wherever you are, and to engage with others wherever they are. And so we can continue in our third year doing just that. So speaking of third year, like I've said a couple of times through the last recent episodes, we will be reaching our third year as a nonprofit, Nevada nonprofit, on June 16, 2025. And again, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We actually filed our 1023-EZ, so we actually have gross receipt cap that will come to an end at the end of our third year. Not that that matters. We've never even we've never gone over 3 digits of donations, and it was the low 3 digits. But the fact is, as we start deploying things, it might be an interesting a matter of timing, that we can actually put donate buttons on things and enable our community, local or otherwise, to participate in supporting our endeavors in more than just appreciation or use or feedback. So I'll tell you what the number one question we always had with our monthly hackathons: is there free food? Well, nothing in life is free, but it would be fun to enable more easily donation of food or other such things for hackathons, which we'd like to bring back. Possibility of venues that are not necessarily provided. We might get something that's more appropriate, which we might have to spend money on. Who knows? So as we continue to grow in our third year and then into our fourth year, looking forward to, as we reach out to other people and as we re-enable our hackathon efforts on our own initiatives and facilitate other challenges. And there are projects I've talked about previously, our Challengers Initiative. I intermix projects and initiatives. It's a bad habit. Our Challengers Initiative is about celebrating and recognizing and celebrating local innovators as they compete in challenges. They don't have to be code hackathons. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're other things, creative works and so on. So aiming specifically at young people who in the greater Vegas area are so often, well, you're not tearing down or building a casino, or you're not bringing a professional sports team to the area. And hopefully you haven't committed any crimes. At that point, you're less interesting. You don't get quite the news coverage you could. So that's something that really needs to change if we're going to cultivate our innovation culture here. So just a couple of those. I mean, I've barely scratched the surface. I've done, and there will be another Excelsior episode, part 3 for year 3. There are big things, and onward and upward is what Excelsior basically means. So everything is a work in progress. And so we'll see how it goes. And again, we are looking to grow our board. We have 3 members presently, 3 board members, 3 directors. would probably be better with 5, maybe 7. Think about it. And that is where I will leave it for today. So thank you for listening. That's it. Just want to make a little test tone there. Thanks for listening, as always. Catch you next week.